What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TNC Reacts. I want to have a real conversation with you, not reactions where I'm talking about stuff that people post online. I want to talk about what goes on in our community that we refuse to acknowledge, to understand, and try to come up with plans without blaming everybody else and actually taking accountability for our actions. Oh, wait. He just said accountability. I can't watch his video no more. Probably so. Because let's be real. I'm having conversations with people and I'm like, gentrification is real. You see these people come in, buy up the land for a cheaper price, and then can build wealth for their families for the next generation or the generation afterwards. But we have to look at why that is happening. So let's look at the definition of gentrification. I'll put it up on the screen. And it says the process whereby the character of a poor urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing, and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants. In the process, quote unquote, an area undergoing rapid gentrification, the process of making someone or something more refined, polite, or respectable. Now, let's have this conversation because people don't like to have this conversation. Now, there's a definition for redlining. Let me talk about that first, and then I'll get into the gentrification versus redlining. So let's go ahead and check it out, and we'll get back to it. But let me show you what this is. So, what is redlining? The term has come to mean racial discrimination of any kind in housing, but it comes from government maps that outline areas where black residents lived and were therefore deemed risky investments. So, this showed in Brooklyn. So, all of these red areas that you see here were deemed risky. And that's why, and this was 1938. Whole different ball game. It didn't apply the same. So this was written in August 17th, 2021. In recent years, the term redlining has become shorthand for many types of historic race-based exclusionary tactics in real estate. From racial stirring by real estate agents directing black home buyers and renters to certain neighborhoods or buildings and away from others, to racial covenants in many suburbs and developments, barring black residents from buying homes, all of which contributed to the racial segregation that shaped the way America looks today. But what is redlining really? The origins of the term come from government home ownership programs that were created as part of the 1930s era New Deal. The programs offered government-insured mortgages for homeowners, a form of federal aid designed to stave off a massive wave of foreclosures in the wake of the Depression. So that was during the Depression, but it's still continuing today, right? Now, as these programs evolved, the government added parameters for appraising and vetting properties and homeowners who would qualify. They used color-coded maps ranking the loan worthiness of neighborhoods in more than 200 cities and towns across the United States. Now, neighborhoods were ranked from least risky to most risky, or from A through D. The federal government deemed D areas as places where property values were most likely to go down, and the areas were marked in red, a sign that these neighborhoods were not worthy of inclusion in home ownership and lending programs. Not coincidentally, most of the D areas were neighborhoods where black residents lived. Now, in the 1930s, you could not use it because black folks kept up with their properties. They kept up with the maintenance, the grass. I mean, this stuff really applies to how your house is based. Now, you might get racist real estate agents that want to deem your property lower. That's why they say don't have pictures in the home that show black people. Don't have any of these different factors. Don't even take pictures where a mirror can reflect and show that there was a black person taking a picture, because it can change the construct and the pricing of your home. I'm not knocking that, because racism still does exist and those things do matter. But what I'm going to talk about after we finish this is completely different. So Through the maps were internal documents that were never made public by the federal government. Their ramifications were obvious to black homeowners who could not get home loans that were backed by government insurance programs. Usage of the term redlining became more common during the civil rights movement, especially in the era leading up to the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968. So remember, the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, but depending on where you lived, they didn't automatically just say, oh, it passed, we're going to act right. That was not the case. So, which prohibited housing discrimination, and the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act of 1975, which required the release of lending data. Now, it says, in 1976, the historian Kenneth T. Jackson discovered one of these government maps of St. Louis. When Jackson discovered this map, it was the smoking gun, said Matthew Losner, an associate professor of urban studies and planning at Hunter College. Mr. Jackson says he discovered the map somewhat by accident while searching for other housing records. Mr. Losner says the neighborhoods redlined by the government varied in all sorts of ways: age of the homes, average home values, proximity to the industrial areas, but they typically had one thing in common: black people lived there. Integrated areas where black residents lived alongside other racial groups were also rated as D on these maps. So that means Black, Asian, Latino, Latinas, even some of the quote-unquote poor whites. This is how they rated it. The government's racist theory, based on popular pseudoscience of the era, was that the presence of any population of black residents was a sign of impeding property value decline. Yikes. Pretty soon, Mr. Losner says, private lenders started using the government's map lines as well, effectively barring black home buyers from qualifying for secure mortgages from many mainstream banks. Now, I've given you a large amount of it. I will leave the rest of the link I'll leave the link in the description so you can see the rest of the information. Now, the reason I'm talking about redlining versus gentrification is because we have to be honest. Gentrification only exists because I'm going to be honest, we as black people will contribute to lowering the value of our homes. We do not keep up with the maintenance of our homes. We do not keep up with the outside view of the home. Not even just internal, but we're talking about external aspects of the housing. People don't cut their grass. People don't keep up with the stuff falling off the walls. We don't do any of it. Then we bring in the worst aspects of it. So say you get a HUD loan, first time home buyers loan. Say you get any of these government assistance programs. So they say, all right, well, you got to move to this area. You move to the area. You got out of the hood. You left the hood. You moved to this area. But instead of elevating yourself and evolving from the original mindset that you had in that area, you bring that type of ideology to the new location. Why? Why would you want to bring the street aspect to a nice, quiet neighborhood? I come from Cleveland, Ohio, right? And I haven't been there, lived there since I was 20. And every time I go back, I see how the scenarios and areas have changed. And what I mean by that, we used to have a place downtown called 30th. This is the numbers 30th to 39th Avenue. So these are, multiple streets, had project areas, all of that. Hood, if you weren't from there, don't go there. That was what we understood when I was living there. So then you had the Heights. You had Maple Heights. You had Warrensville Heights, Bedford Heights. You had Garfield Heights, Shaker Heights. You had all of these heights. And when I was growing up, those were the fancy areas. Man, it was so luxuriously looking like you couldn't move there if you didn't have money. I go back to visit. They not a hood. Man, Maple Heights the hood now. What you talking about? Man, it's hood out there now. Why is it hood? Because all those folks that had all that money, they sold them houses forever what they sold it for and started moving back downtown. So when they moved back downtown, they started building nicer areas. Now, only reason that can happen is if you make the area so bad, the property value drops. But how does that happen? Crime, violence, all these other things that make those areas unappealing. So they get so low that somebody can come in and buy it, buy that whole from 30th Ave to 39th Ave for pennies on the dollar. They buy it up, build it up, and then charge a premium. Now, you who were living off of $300-$400 a month, all of that, nah, you can't afford that. But guess what? Those heights are now affordable. That was the place that we used to want to get to, but we can't get there no more. Well, we couldn't get there back then, but now we can get there. Man, got a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, beautiful area, all of that. Everybody goes in there in droves. But instead of going there and maintaining the property, we destroy it. Whose fault is that? Is that racism? Is that the gentrification? Is it redlining? No, it's the mentality that ruins the value of that area. Ah, man, he must be a Republican. He must be in this. And he just, no, I'm just talking about what I've seen for my entire adulthood and see the continual dirty cycle of the mindset that you refuse to grow from. You refuse to take care of your area. That has nothing to do with white folks. That has nothing to do with anybody. That has to do with you. And that's the problem. Yeah, you have the other factors that involve real estate agents, people trying to appraise your house for less because they know that a black person lives there. But that's only one portion. That has nothing to do with the fact that you're not keeping your house up. Well, things are expensive and all of that stuff. Okay, I get that. Let's acknowledge that. You know what? It is expensive. You know, certain plywood may go up. Certain things like that may go up. But you can go look on YouTube on how to repair a hole that your abusive girlfriend or boyfriend decided to kick a hole in. How do you repair that? Fix a wall up, make it look nice. YouTube it. Then you find out what they're offering. Go on Home Depot, Lowe's, all of that. Buy the stuff, fix it up, and get rid of that negative energy that is causing damage to your home. We got to stop blaming all of these external factors. There are things that are internal, flat out. And the fact that we have this no snitching clause where it's like, oh, you can't tell on the people that moved on your block that is selling dope, fighting, causing all of this drama. No, get them out of there. There's no reason why you should feel unsafe in your neighborhood. Ask a lot of these people that live in the hood that decided to move out. Why did they move out? I guarantee you it's because it wasn't safe. It wasn't good. None of it was happy. And they moved. But then they brought them people with them. Insanity. Foolishness. Just ignorance at its finest. Because we have to start realizing that, yeah, there's external factors, but we have to start acknowledging and being accountable that we are the problem that allows it to continue to grow. Area I live in, it's not hood. And I refuse to allow it to be hood. When I see some hood stuff go down, I'm going to start calling the laws. Well, why would you call the laws? That's snitching. I ain't no gangster. Not one bit. I'm a tax-paying citizen. And I want the kids in my neighborhood to grow up on a normal lifestyle. Not growing up trying to figure out how to survive. It's not built for that. It's built for the parents to have fun, talk to each other. Hey, kids want to play together, let them play together. And it be good. You know, if the kids wild out, you talk to the parents. Hey, you know, the youngster doing that. But because, if we're going to be honest, some of us are so ignorant that we will not allow our people to come talk to us about our child's misbehavior. If back in the day, you could tell them people, hey, your child was doing this. And the parents would be like, thank you for telling me. Now I got to correct this behavior. You got kids now, these parents now who don't even want to correct the behavior. They want to be friends with their children. I have a child. I have kids around me all the time. I ain't they friends. I'll never be they friends. Because my goal is to make them better than what I was when I was growing up. Man, this whole, oh, that's my best. Man, them kids ain't your best friend. You foolish if you think that, because the moment that you make them equal to you, you change the dynamic on education. But let me know what y'all think down in the comments section. Am I wrong about gentrification? Am I wrong about redlining? Am I just out of pocket? Let me know. I'm just saying, I'm down for positive conversation, but I will not allow these unaccountable people to just keep blaming it on people that should not be blamed. We got to start blaming ourselves, because at the end of the day, if we don't blame ourselves, how will we correct it? Just saying. Be on the lookout for more videos. All right, everybody? Peace.